April 6, Detention Center, Holding Cell. Never thought I'd spend another night in here again. And they stripped me of all the evidence we'd so painstakingly gathered. Even if they did let me keep Kay's Yadagarasu's pin. I can't help but worry about her. They better be treating her well.
The murderer! It was me. I remember looking down and the person in the red raincoat was on the ground. It was me, Mr. Edgeworth. It was me all along. I'm the murderer. I'm the murderer.
Come on, let's go. You've got a visitor. A visitor? Who? Someone by the name of Dick Gumshoe. Want me to send him away? No, but I'm not sure what to even say to him. April 6, Detention Center, Visitor's Room. Wait there. They're leaving me unsupervised?
Forgive the intrusion.
Judge Cavell!
Please, Mr. Edgeworth. Take a seat.
What are you doing here? I was told it was Detective Gumshoe.
I imagined you wouldn't come if you knew it was me.
What could she possibly want from me now? I suppose I better find out.
You may not be aware of this, but you are only permitted to meet with specially approved visitors.
So I'm to be treated like a dangerous criminal, am I? I suppose my reputation has rather plummeted.
It has indeed. For you, of course, and for your friends. That attorney and the other girl were raising quite the fuss earlier.
Fender and Emma.
I saw them launch some extremely heated words at one of the guards.
No! You didn't!
You may thank the goddess in that regard, for even she is too busy to deal with each and every infraction. They will not be punished for their bad behavior.
Did you come here just to chit-chat with me? You must have a lot of time on your hands.
Oh, speaking of which, Miss Von Karma is continuing the investigation where you left off. I just thought you would like to know. I figured you would be worried about how they were all doing. I hate to admit it, but she read me like a book. Let's cut to the chase, Your Honor. Why are you really here? I'm here simply to talk, nothing more. There is something I wish to know about you.
Me?
Yes. Who else? Objectively speaking, you are highly intelligent and quick-witted. And a born prosecutor at that.
Please, Judge Cavell, your sarcastic praise is but salt on my wound.
But I sincerely mean every word, Mr. Edgeworth, and it is why I fail to understand you. Take this latest case, for example. You were up against the very committee itself. You had no hope of succeeding. Even a child could have seen that. And yet...
I don't imagine the old me would ever have been so reckless. The old me had power, and because of that I thought that justice was always on my side. Just as you and the committee believe now. But a certain person changed my mind. He made me reason with my selfish and skewed sense of justice. And once the scales had fallen from my eyes, I began to look at people differently. I saw that I was only able to be an effective prosecutor thanks to the efforts of those around me. Detective Gumshoe, the many investigative officers on the force, and even Kay. It changed me. The degree to which it changed me still surprises me to this day.
I see. Thank you. I feel that perhaps I understand you a little better.
You? Understand me? I highly doubt it. Someone who is so focused on forcing their idea of justice and onto others can't possibly see what I see.
Is that so? Is that what you truly believe? I will say one thing. This has been a very interesting conversation. That is all. Before I go, there is one remaining matter. I was asked to inform you that the date of your hearing has been confirmed. It will be held today, in the trial chamber. The committee sends its warmest regards.
If that was all you had to tell me, you could have just sent a message.
And entrust the goddess's words to another? That wouldn't do now, would it? Until then, Mr. Edgeworth, I'll see you again very shortly.
April 6, Detention Center, Holden Cell. Now it's time to check this out. I've barely spent any time in here, and already I can feel my personal appearance slipping. I may have given up my badge, but I mustn't give it up on myself. My collar, slightly creased. There, tidy outside begins to tidy inside, which is why it's more important now than ever to take care of myself. There's a menu here on the table. It seems that detainees are able to pay to have their meals brought to their cells. What looks good? Spaghetti and mac and cheese lunch, and linguine for only $1. Basmati and brown rice special for a limited time only. Add regular white rice at no extra cost. Probably for the best that I'm not very hungry. There's a note on the wall next to the toilet. Sorry, we're currently out of toilet paper. Please make the necessary mental preparations before using it. What sort of mental preparations can one even make? A very basic bed. I can't say it was very comfortable to sleep on, however. I imagine Detective Gumshoe would sleep soundly on it nevertheless, loudly snoring all the while. I suppose we'll probably never get to work together again. But I don't have any regrets about the bet I've made. I will follow my own path to the end. There's a poster in the corridor outside. We regret to announce that due to the warden's arrest, the Die of Destiny game will be discontinued. Inmates will no longer need to roll a die every morning to determine their meals for the day. We wholeheartedly apologize to those who are looking forward to their daily casting of the die. Did anyone really need an apology for the cessation of such a ridiculous idea in the first place? Do I have another visitor? Kay!
Oh,
Thank goodness you seem alright. That's a load off of my mind. Ah, such a heartwarming scene. It's enough to make a grown man cry. But you're still not your usual cheery... you have to stay positive, Gary. You didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I guarantee you didn't.
no. You have to let it go. I'm the murderer. I know that now.
But you're not. You can't be. Why don't you have any faith in yourself?
How can I, Mr. Edgeworth, when there is no me left to believe in?
Not at all? I don't think that's true. Before you lost your memory, we spent quite a bit of time together. And I dare say you left quite the impression on me. So you see, there's still plenty of you left. That's why I believe so much in your innocence. And why you should believe in yourself, too.
Thank you. But I can't. It would just cause more pain for the both of us. Please, you have to forget her. Forget that Kay. She's gone.
Kay! No! You remind me of my younger self, you know. So noble. So bold. This is the justice you and the committee stand for? Justice? I suppose you could call it that. What is he up to? Why is he going to such lengths to control everything? I can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong here. Is there some hidden agenda in play? This is no time to second-guess myself. If I'm going to find out what it is, it's now or never. Well then, my boy, I suppose I should be. Wait! Why is the chairman so intent on seeing Kay charged with this murder? Doesn't make any sense. There must be some rhyme or reason to this madness. Come now, Miles. I'm a busy, important man. I can't be wasting my precious time talking to you. He has 2 knights, a rook, and a queen. This'll be tough. The only way out of our current predicament is through Chairman Winner. There's so much to ask and so little time. Let's start by trying to find out why he rushed to have Kay arrested so quickly. I can't just let this happen. I'm getting answers, if it's the last thing I do. Mind chess, start! Why were you so keen to push through Kay's arrest? I've yet to hear a satisfactory explanation. An explanation? I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Don't give me that. You know exactly what I mean. I advise you to moderate your tone, dear boy. Need I remind you of your position? And suppose we did let your friend go free. What then?
What do you mean, what then?
Think how that would look, my boy. And who would have to take the blame? Me, that's who. You're right to keep your mouth shut. That way, you won't say anything foolish. Sorry, but I can't stay silent forever. Not while Kay's innocence is still in doubt. Ah, you're breaking my heart. Just look at this flood of tears spilling out. Please, just leave it alone, will you? Things were coming along nicely until you interfered. Wait, what? Coming along nicely? That's a pretty strange way of putting it. It's almost as if you wanted Kay's arrest to happen. It certainly doesn't sound like a statement of an impartial representative of a law. You think so? Well, that wasn't my intention. Has it occurred to you that you might just be overthinking things a little? Chairman Winner certainly knows how to dodge a question, but it doesn't change the fact that serious doubts remain concerning Kay's arrest. Next, we'll need to press him on whether he really believes the investigation was sufficient. We can't allow any of his statements to go unexamined, no matter how trivial they may seem. One of them may just give us the breakthrough we need. You can hardly say your investigation was sufficient, and you're the one who called all the shots, weren't you? Including the decision to have Kay arrested. Oh, I'm afraid I'm nowhere near as influential as you think, dear boy. You're the chairman of the committee. Doesn't get much more influential than that. Not that I care about such things. You won't be. It's enough. Drive an old man to tears. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not the deferential type. Well, if you're gonna insist on being so blunt, then I'm afraid you won't be seeing your prosecutor's badge again anytime soon. Let me make something clear once and for all. That badge isn't the be-all end-all for me. Far from it. I'm not concerned with titles or roles. Even you must understand that much. So young. So very young. Word of advice, Miles, from somebody who's been around the block. You're hopelessly naive, my boy. Idiotically so. Well, that's certainly got under his skin. He might be less guarded in his answers while he's in this state. Now's my chance. How much time was spent on your investigation altogether? My. You really don't give up, do you? And even my patience has its limits, you know. What a coincidence. So does mine. Now answer the question. You believe that your investigation was sufficient or not? Youth these days are wont to be reckless. Makes me want to put you in your place. You're going to regret that, my boy. Well, maybe you do know your place after all. What's the matter? Scared? Hardly. I was just thinking about how best to proceed. Getting answers from the elderly requires sensitivity. They can get quite emotional after all. You have no common sense whatsoever, do you? Don't you understand? Your fate rests in my hands. Let's say you do manage to get some answers from me. There's nothing you can do with them, so why not give it up, dear boy? No. And why not? It's simple, because I'm not about to let the truth escape me. Interesting. I think I'm beginning to see what makes you tick. What you're doing is pointless, tragic, and miserably pointless. Please, just give up. She's guilty. The decision has been made. Wait, really? Once again, your choice of words intrigues me. It's almost as if Kay's guilt had already been determined from before her arrest. What are you trying to imply? I'm implying that things haven't gone as they normally should. In fact, everything has proceeded as if Kay's arrest was the end goal, right from the very start. Well, Chairman Winner, was it? That's certainly an intriguing theory. But it's also a complete work of fiction, and I'm afraid I don't have time for such flights of fancy. I think it's time we brought this shabby little farce to an end, don't you? No! He's trying to make his escape! We must confirm the legality of Kay's arrest before he slips away. It's faint, but the truth is finally beginning to emerge, and I'm not about to let this opportunity pass me by. Wait, we're not done yet. I'm tired of all this talking, so make it brief, will ya? Based on everything I've heard from you so far, it's clear that Kay's arrest is entirely unfounded. Yes, I think we're all familiar with this particular refrain of yours by now, but I'm afraid it doesn't matter either way. You don't have what it takes to secure her release anyhow. How dare you take this so lightly as a man of the law? My, aren't you a rude little boy? But my fuse is only so long. Honestly speaking, I don't have the time to waste on every last question you dream up. I have certain responsibilities to attend to, you know? I really am quite the busy man. Or are you just pretending to be busy? That's an awful thing to say to a fragile old man. I work harder than I should at my age. I ask you, my boy, what could I even hope to accomplish by putting up such a pretense? You obviously don't want to talk about the case anymore. That's why you're so keen to get out of this conversation, isn't it? It's just so tragic. It really is. How would you suspect me of such things? It's not a suspicion. It's a certainty. There were no clear grounds on which to base Kay's arrest for a start. Now, my boy, let's not get carried away. There was plenty of evidence to support her case. Hold on one sec, I'll be back.
Sorry about that, how to get eggs. Let's continue.
The mask, the letter, the corsage, they were all in her possession. And of course, her confession. More than enough to prove her guilt, I'd say. But those are... What's the matter? Struggling to come up with a way to explain everything away? Not really. Well, there we have it. Your silence speaks volumes. It's true I can't counter your argument right now. But you did let something valuable slip. A suspiciously detailed knowledge of the evidence against Kay. He rattled off that list like he knew it inside out. I think that might prove to be a valuable clue. Wait, we're not done yet. I'm tired of all this talk. So make it brief, will ya? Really? Who gave the order? Who gave the order? Who decided that Kay should be arrested? You know? I can't seem to remember. Don't ever get old, Miles, my boy. Wreaks havoc on the memory. Time to deploy my crew, my flute. I'd appreciate it if you stopped playing the old man card. You remember the details of the evidence against Kay pretty clearly. Perhaps if your memory didn't fail you only when it was convenient, I'd be more inclined to believe you. So let me ask you again. Who gave the order for Kay's arrest? You're a sharp one, I'll give you that. My son could learn a thing or two from you. If he wasn't such an incurable numbskull, that is. It's a tragedy, really. I don't want to hear about your son. I want to know who authorized the arrest. You're very mean. You know that, don't you? The arrest, you say? I believe the order was given by... you.
Come now, Chairman Winner. We both know it was you.
All right, you got me. You make it sound like it was somehow a bad thing, though. But I have a reputation to uphold, so I better clear up this little misunderstanding. I'll entertain your questions for a few more minutes. Let's see if I can't put your mind at ease. The key thing to do now is to establish how intimately he knows the details of the case. I just have to ask the right questions. The end game is at hand. We're but a few moves away from the truth. You seem to know the case in quite some detail. I know about lots of things, my boy. I'm just smart like that. Too bad the same can't be said about the way you handle Kay's arrest. I'm a very busy man. Do try to remember that I can bring this little chat to an end whenever I so choose. It's only taking so long because you won't give me a straight answer to any of my questions. If only you stopped giving me the runaround, we'd be done already. So let's try this again. You seem to know the details of the case quite intimately. Why is that? Because I read the case file. Not exactly the most thrilling use of my time, of course, but it's part of the job. I have to be a good role model. Can't be seen to be slacking. It can be so hard. But I had some time on my hands, so I read the whole thing from cover to cover. Really? That's strange. I could have sworn you just told me you're a very busy man. I'd say that cracks are finally starting to show, wouldn't you? If you're so keen on being an upstanding leader, you can start by releasing Kay, you know? You really don't give up, do you? It's a moving sight indeed, my boy. But a tragic one, too. After all, your efforts are for naught. I'm afraid your little friend was found unconscious near the scene of the crime. We have yet to hear much about the circumstances under which Kay was found. She was lying unconscious in the storeroom, correct? That's right. Although I'm not at liberty to tell you how I know that. He knows things even we didn't. In fact, he seems to be aware of every tiny detail about this case. This could be a valuable clue. The suspect, Kay Faraday. How much do you know about her exactly? I know that she's the suspect. Aside from that, not much else. Cross my heart, but it's true. Time to deploy my clue. Sorry, but the more you tell me, the less sense your story makes. For one thing, you know details that even those investigating the scene were not aware of. Why is that? Just how much do you really know, Chairman Winner? Oh, there's that intimidating face you like to make again. Well, two can play this game. How do you like me now? I do have to commend you on your doggedness. It really is something. I'll take that as a compliment. Take it however you like, but wrap this up, will ya? I just don't have the stamina anymore. She's the culprit, the only possible suspect. Let's accept that already. How much more evidence did you want us to load her down with, for goodness sake? Wait, what? Load her down with? Yet another interesting turn of phrase. One that makes it sound a lot like the items Kay was carrying might have been foisted upon her. Impressive. You really do pay attention, don't you? It's no wonder they used to call you a prodigy, Mr. Ex-Prosecutor. I think you know the answer to your own question by now. Why don't you just go ahead and say it? I want to hear it from you. It's finally time to shed light on the truth. All that's left is to play one last move. Kay is innocent. No, my boy. That's just clumsy. Anyone can blurt out a baseless assertion like that. Even this race superstar prosecutor. Time to deploy my clue. Kay was framed. The true culprit set it all up, so she would take the fall instead. That is my answer, and I won't let you deny it any longer. My, you really are a sharp one, It's a bit of a shame you chose to hand in your badge. I admit it, you're right on all accounts.
And that's checkmate.
Mind chess complete. You knew Kay wasn't the real murderer, and yet you still had her arrested. What's worse, you thought you could get away with it. Well, you won't. Not if I can help it. There you go with that naivety again, my boy. I guess that was always your problem. With the girl arrested and a convention secured, this whole mess goes away. And that's what will happen. Well, whose interest does a conclusion like that serve? The committee's, I suppose. And mine? You know, listening to you just now, Willie really got the tears flowing, I have to say. It was poignant and heartfelt and sincere. And utterly infuriating. Look, I'm not perfect. I know that. But your lack of sophistication in these matters is beyond the pale. You insist that the truth is more important than anything else? But would you say the same if you knew what the real value of the truth is? What are you trying to say? When you get at my level, you don't uncover the truth. You make it, little by little. Kay Faraday, murderer. That's the truth. The truth I created. Yes, my boy. That's what I like to see. You're so sincere sometimes, it's painful. It just makes me want to put you in your place. Knowing the real truth will get you nowhere. Because that's how much it's worth. Nothing. Shocking, I know.
But why not go after the real killer? How much do you even know about what really happened?
You're still not getting it. That's your truth. And it is worthless. Mine is all that matters. You understand what I'm saying, don't you, Mr. Prosecutor? I have all the power here. Curse you! Well, aren't you medicine? You and your little friend are just as bad as each other. Violent criminals who deserve to be locked up. You'll pay for this. And with that, yet another person disappears from my life. Oh, it just makes me want to cry. And cry. And cry. I'm not planning to disappear just yet, Chairman Winner. There's still the hearing later today. Just you wait. One way or another, I'll prove Kay's innocence to the world then. April 6, 8:30 a.m. Committee for Prosecutorial Excellence. Chamber. 10 members. Over a majority are present. I hereby call this hearing to order. We are gathered here today to assess the professional competency of Prosecutor Miles Edgeworth. Here, in the sight of the goddess, we do solemnly swear to pass fair and frank judgment. Fair and frank? Don't make me laugh. Verity, if you would be so kind as to summarize the case against Mr. Edgeworth.
On April 5th, despite having been advised of the illegality of an investigation he was conducting, the accused refused to desist and eventually had to be detained by myself and Chairman Winner. His actions compromised the investigation into the murder of a certain defense attorney, and despite having been presented with copious evidence of her guilt, he continues to insist that the suspect, one Kay Faraday, is innocent of all charges.
Perhaps you can explain the details of the murder to us as well?
Of course. On the morning of the 5th, the body of the victim was found here in the committee chamber. Further explanation will be provided by
me, Excelsius Winner, Premier Prosecutor.
The floor is yours, Mr. Winner.
The murder itself happened late on the night of the 4th. The victim was Miss Rosie Ringer. That same night, an illicit auction was being held here in this very room. Ringer took part in that auction, I think. Yeah. Meaning that the murder took place sometime during the auction.
When she was found, Ringer was dressed in an outfit that matched the description of the auctioneers. However, due to the fact that the auction carried on after the murder had occurred, I deduced that Ringer was not in fact the auctioneer.
You deduced nothing of the sort.
And what about the basis on which the suspect was detained, Mr. Winner? Yeah, I got this. So Faraday was overcome by crushing remorse, Eustace.
Yeah, that. Tons of crushing remorse. So she confessed.
According to her confession, she was on the roof of this building when she encountered a person in a red raincoat on the viewing platform.
And that person was Miss Ringer, I take it.
Precisely, Mr. Chairman. The killer dressed the victim in the auctioneer's outfit after the fact. But at the time when she was killed, Miss Ringer was wearing a red raincoat.
And who won the race to find that raincoat nearby? Me! That's who!
Did you?
I thought it was somebody from forensics.
Strictly speaking, it was found by one of the forensic investigators under Mr. Winner's command.
I knew it! The blood analysis on the coat showed that it was indeed Miss Ringer who had worn it, and the suspect's confession was the final nail in the coffin. She confirmed having committed the murder. So as you can see, Kate Faraday was the killer. There's no way anybody else could have done it. All right, Miles, I expect you have some objections. Let's get them out of the way, shall we?
I have no objections, Chairman Winner.
Well now, is that so? I thought it would have taken more than a single-handed attention to break you.
No objections in the matter of my unauthorized investigation, that is. But in the matter of Miss Faraday's supposed guilt, I have plenty.
Overruled.
I can personally attest to the fact that Mr. Winner's investigation was fair and impartial.
Yeah, of course it was. When it comes to carefully conducted ops, I'm the winner every time. You know, Miles, it's within my power to offer you a plea deal of sorts. If, and this is purely hypothetical of course, you were to withdraw your objections, you might wake up tomorrow to find yourself the proud owner of a seat on this committee. So I ask you again, do you have any objections, Mr. Edgeworth?
If you think you can buy my silence,
think again.
You will watch your mouth.
Only if the chairman watches his. I didn't come here to talk about committee seats. I came here to talk about the murder case. I demand a statement under oath, and I won't rest until I have one. I want to know exactly what the committee's view on the incident is. You want to put us on trial, my boy? Very well. If it'll make you happy. Verity, please provide Mr. Edgeworth with the materials pertaining to the case.
Really? But sir...
This will be his last hurrah, so let's humor him with the send-off he deserves.
If you say so, Mr. Chairman.
Evidence data received from Judge Gavell. You have no objections to Verity representing the committee, I assume?
None whatsoever.
Mr. Edgeworth.
Don't worry, Kay. Everything will be fine. You'll see.
Argument. The committee's view of the case. Miss Ringer attended the auction as a potential buyer. The red raincoat was one of the items up for sale. So our assumption is that after winning and paying for it, she left the auction with her purchase. The only exit from the storeroom was, of course, the hatch leading up onto the roof. After she emerged onto the viewing platform, that's when Miss Ringer was attacked by Miss Faraday. Shortly thereafter, her flame went out, and thus concludes the committee's view of the case.
The raincoat was on offer that night? Is that really true?
We believe so, yes. You remember the failed assassination attempt on the president of Shanghai. The raincoat is a piece of evidence from that case. It should, of course, have remained safely under lock and key in the appropriate facility. But our inquiries revealed that it did in fact go missing under mysterious circumstances.
Wound up in the auction along with everything else. That makes sense, I suppose. Wonderful work, Verity. Just wonderful. Crystal clear as ever.
You flatter me, sir. Now, Mr. Edgeworth, perhaps you could save us all some time and simply admit defeat.
I'll do no such thing, thank you very much.
Very well. It's good to know that you still have some fight in you.
It is? Why? Come to think of it, she said some strange things when she visited me this morning, too. What exactly is she up to? Well, we're about to find out.
Miss Ringer attended the auction as a potential buyer. The red raincoat was one of the items up for sale. So our assumption is that after winning and paying for it, she left the auction with her purchase. The only exit from the storeroom was, of course, the hatch leading up onto the roof. After she emerged onto the viewing platform, that's when Miss Ringer was attacked by Miss Faraday.
I don't know.
Objection!
Because I think not. Maybe you can clear something up for me, Judge Gabel. But what is Miss Hart doing here at this hearing?
She is an eyewitness. I thought it would be obvious. Well, now, I ain't really an eyewitness. More than ear witness, I guess.
She's not exactly the most confidence-inspiring choice to help you make your case, is she?
I like to think I choose my allies a little more carefully than you, Mr. Edgeworth.
Then you should question them more thoroughly, because there's something she hasn't told you. Take a look at this. It's a photo taken by Miss Hart.
Yes. In the storeroom, correct? What of it?
According to your theory, the murder occurred up on the roof. But according to Miss Hart's testimony, she happened to witness the entire incident unfold in the storeroom, just before she took this picture.
Wait! You're saying Gabel got it?
Wrong. Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying.
What?
Miss Hart, if I may confirm your account on the events you witnessed that night, you saw the person in the picture, correct?
I sure did. Clear as day. And with my own 2 eyes to boot.
And what were your impressions at that point?
My impressions? This right here is the scoop of the century. Something like that?
Yeah, that makes sense. Ahem. I was hoping for your impressions of the person in question.
Oh, that there's a walking meal ticket?
Seriously?
Just my little joke. Don't need to look at me like I done sat on your lunch. Oh, red raincoat, right? Why, I took one look and I thought, that's our perp right there.
And therein lies the rub. For Miss Hart to have thought such a thing means the murder occurred.
Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, when will you learn to use your words? If it's an explanation of the facts that you require, you need only ask, you know.
What do you mean?
I assume you're about to raise the issue of the voices Miss Hart heard. Voices that may be unrelated.
Objection!
Unrelated? You can do better than that.
Was one of the voices Miss Hart heard really even Miss Ringer's?
You're kidding me, right? Them folks was talking crime-related turkey or my name ain't Lotta Dang Hart.
Ah, but did you hear them clearly? Well, can't rightly say for sure, but...
God, I can't rightly say nothing and you know it. They was using voice changers. I done told y'all that.
Precisely. Miss Hart heard voices, but those voices were disguised, which means we cannot even be certain that whatever she did over here had anything to do with the murder.
Objection!
You don't need to yell objection in order to sigh at me, Mr. Edgeworth.
It seems I overestimated you, Judge Gabel. Nonsense. Verity's the best of us, my boy. The very best. And yet she believes that what Miss Hart heard might not have had anything to do with the murder. Even supposing that that's the case, it doesn't prove the murder didn't happen in the storeroom. The incident happened before the victim was able to go up to the roof. That much we can say for certain. And I can tell you why. This proves that the incident happened before the victim went up to the roof. His bloody hand.
Take that!
We initially thought that the person in the red raincoat was the culprit.
Yes, because Miss Hart said as much.
Indeed, she told us about the blood she saw on this person's hand, and I doubt many people would have thought differently given her testimony. Ergo, if this person is the killer, then the blood we see would be from when they attacked the victim. But knowing what we know now, if this person is in fact the victim, it recontextualizes everything. The presence of the blood still shows that the picture was taken after the attack, but now it tells us something very important about the victim too. This picture tells us that the victim survived the attack. There's no doubt in my mind that the victim was attacked in the storeroom, but here we have photographic evidence of her standing upright and alive, albeit with a bloody hand. This can only mean that Miss Ringer survived the attack. The blood on her hand is from the wound she had sustained.
What are you talking about? Who dies from a hand wound?
The wound wasn't on her hand, Mr. Winner. I imagine she had used her hand to try and staunch it. That's right. While it's impossible to tell from this angle, the victim was already mortally wounded. Oh, well that certainly would change things, wouldn't it? It very much would, not least by making it absurd to suggest that Kay was the attacker. Her encounter with the victim happened after this picture had been taken. After the victim had already been attacked and was in critical condition. I put it to you that old Kate witnessed was the victim finally succumbing to her wounds.
That would have been quite the coincidence.
It's a textbook case of wrong place, wrong time, I'd say.
You seem to be forgetting a rather important fact, Mr. Edgeworth.
Well, that or pretending to not remember. What? What fact am I forgetting? I think it's time to wrap things up, don't you, Verity? Put the boy out of his misery.
Dad, Gavel works for me. Why do you keep giving her orders? That's my job.
You really are. Total and utter embarrassment.
And I'm not.
I hate to break it to you, but you both are.
Go to it, Gavel. Put Edgeworth out
of his misery. As you wish. Argument. What you're forgetting. Miss Ringer's body was found with 3 wounds in its chest. And we all know where those wounds are from, don't we? That's right. They're from when she was stabbed in the chest by a 3-armed cadaver. I doubt anybody could survive such great wounds. If you care to read the coroner's report, I'm sure you would change your tune.
Nicely done, Gavel. Now Edgeworth will have to
make several objections. Yes, I'm afraid I will.
What? Why? Weren't you listening?
Oh, I was listening. Very carefully, in fact. Hence my objections.
Come on! Why do you always have to undermine me?
That's never my intention, I assure you.
Huh? It isn't?
Because you do it so well to yourself every single time already.
Of course it isn't. Yeah, I knew that. Because I'm...
Please, Eustace. Just stop. For goodness sake. You've already embarrassed me enough.
Huh? What do you mean, Dad? What he means is that he wants to tell you to shut up.
Miss Ringer's body was found with 3 wounds in its chest. And we all know what those wounds are from, don't we? That's right. They're from when she was stabbed in the chest by a 3-armed cadaver. I doubt anybody could survive such great wounds.
You're right. But I do have something I have to present in response. This thing.
Objection!
Chairman Winner, you know what this is, of course. The red raincoat? That's right. Isn't it, Verity?
Yes, sir. The one Miss Ringer was wearing. I warn you, Mr. Edgeworth, you will not be thanked for retreading old ground here.
Well, I'm afraid I might have to regardless. Now then, if you'll answer me this, Judge Gavel. You told us that the victim's bloodstains were found on the coat. But do you remember where exactly they were found?
Of course. They were found on the hood and...
No!
What's the matter, Verity? The hood and... Was blood found anywhere else on the raincoat?
No, it was not.
Doesn't that strike you as odd? The victim died of stab wounds to the chest. Wouldn't that lead one to expect to find bloodstains in that area? And yet, there was blood only on the hood. That's a glaring contradiction if I ever saw one. The head wound the victim suffered wasn't just some incidental injury. It was inflicted before the stab wounds to her chest.
Perhaps you are correct. Perhaps the victim did sustain the head injury first. As you said, if she had been stabbed first, there should be blood in the chest area of the raincoat. Therefore, Miss Ringer cannot have been stabbed before the head injury had been inflicted on her. But even if we concede this point, that the head injury came before the chest wound, what difference would it make? How does it change our understanding of the case?
I'd say it changes things a great deal. In fact, it raises an even more fundamental contradiction.
That is quite the bold claim, Mr. Edgeworth. I have to admit, you have me intrigued. Perhaps you could show us this fundamental contradiction with some evidence?
Which piece of evidence best demonstrates the contradiction the order of the injuries revealed? The coroner's findings.
Take that!
This is Dr. Hurt's preliminary findings, according to which the victim suffered a head injury post-mortem.
But the order suggested by the bloodstains on the raincoat is...
Exactly the opposite, yes.
Bailiff, this court hereby subpoenas Dr. Hilda Hertz to the committee chamber with all due haste. Until she testifies, this case cannot be brought to a close.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll go fetch her at once.
Unfortunately, Dr. Hertz is a very busy woman. I doubt she will be able to come immediately. In the meantime, there is another important angle I would like to explore. Frankly, something has been bothering me about the person at the heart of this case. The so-called ringleader. Who exactly are they?
Yeah, good point. We never looked into that, huh?
Despite having been mentioned repeatedly in this hearing, we still don't know even the most basic facts that might help us uncover their identity. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
We've seen nothing that might serve as clear evidence of the auctioneer's identity as of yet. But there is someone involved with the case that I can name. I suspect that at the very least they might be able to point us in the right direction. And that's... Chairman Winner. I demand that you testify as to what you know.
What? Are you crazy? Why would you accuse my dad?
You would cast doubt on the integrity of the chairman of the committee? Do you understand the implications of such an act?
I don't care who or what he is. We're talking about the truth here. And about a man who seems dead set on framing K at all costs. The mask, corsage, ticket stub, and everything else, the items K was carrying when she was found. They were deliberately placed in her possession somehow, by Chairman Winner himself.
A shocking accusation, and one I find hard to believe. But for the sake of completeness, I must ask, why would he do such a thing?
To case suspicion on K, of course. Why else? I even managed to get him to say something to that effect.
Chairman Winner, your rebuttal, please.
I think the good chairman might be in shock. So what if I did?
Huh?
Did you hear me, dear boy? I said, so what if I did? You say you got me to admit as much? Where's your proof, With no witnesses to speak of, your word alone is hardly enough to make an accusation like that stick. Or do you mean to tell us that you have something more to base your outburst on? He still has the arrogance he showed back at the detention center. And yet...
Mr. Edgeworth, I am going to have to ask you to explain yourself, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Not at all. I'd be very interested to hear this for myself. I'm intrigued to learn where Miles might have gotten the idea that I'm some sort of criminal. Because you'll never find a more fine and upstanding citizen than myself. He has a lot of nerve, acting all innocent like that. Very well, let's start at the very beginning. The fact that the auction took place right here in this hallowed trial chamber is a point of suspicion. A location that should, by rights, only be accessible to members of the committee.
Yeah, they all have key cards to the room after all.
Furthermore, these auctions seem to be held on a somewhat regular basis. And for that to be possible, there can be only one winning explanation. That's right, Mr. Winner, that the auctioneer is a member of the committee. What? No!
What on earth is wrong now?
What do I do, Dad? I played right into his hands.
You did indeed, you utter nitwit. But Miles, my boy, you do realize that you cast quite the wide net with your explanation.
That's true. There are 11 members of the committee altogether. 10, given Miss Ringer's unfortunate passing. 10 potential suspects in total.
Well, it certainly isn't me. And it can't be the chairman. Can it?
Whoever it is, speak up. Right now. Calm down, all of you. Please. Well, Miles, is that all the proof you've got against me? You're very quiet all of a sudden. But it's too late to back out now. You accused the former chief prosecutor and current committee chairman of a crime. I would tell you to prepare for the worst. But there's no preparing for what you're about to face. Testimony. Know your place. You've been forcing us to argue over every little detail for a while now. Where the murder happened, the order of the victim's injuries, some other things I hardly even remember. But you needn't have bothered, my boy, because it's all irrelevant in the end. Think about it. The suspect herself has already said she did it. That's all that matters at the end of the day, and her sentence will be lighter for it. So rejoice. And there you have it. Feel free to pick holes in it as you see fit.
How can I when that was barely a testimony to begin with? That man, he's a very powerful person, isn't he? It's okay, Mr. Edgeworth. Please, just let it go. I did it. I'm the murderer. I even remember doing it.
You saw a flash of something half remembered there. Nothing more. If you must believe in something, believe me when I say you should believe in your own innocence instead.
But
I'm up against the head of the committee here. This isn't going to be easy. But he seems to think he's already won. Perhaps I can use that against